That night, our neighbor, Betty, a frail old woman, babysat was at our house. No one had a clue where the heck our parents were. Outside of our home were two police officers keeping watch over the house. Betty was always a great neighbor, such a nice old lady. The nicest woman you could ever meet. I'm sure she's in heaven now, right now. If she didn't go to heaven, well then I don't know who possibly could. Anyways, I was pretty antsy that night, even with cops guarding the house, and I unfortunately was antsy for a very good reason. When the sun went down, I heard our back door open and close. Was it my parents? I suddenly got very excited, rushing to the door to see them. However, all that was there was one person's muddy footprint on my floor. Something wasn't right. But no one could have gotten to the house, could they? The cops were outside. I rushed upstairs to get Betty. Running into my parents' bedroom, I heard the shower running. Banging on the door, I called to Betty to try and get her attention. No answer. Then I realized nobody showers with a hearing aid. Oh no. That's when I heard Nancy scream downstairs. I rushed downstairs, really not wanting to go into her room. But I had to. When I got to her room, yep, you guessed it, she was gone. Window flung open. Where the hell were the cops? Taking matters into my own hands, I got my shoes and ran out the door. Running down the street, my eyes adjusted to the darkness just in time to see Nancy entering the forest. The same forest that lies next to the hill upon which the dreaded half-Mr. home sits. I called out to her desperately, but she was in a trance, just like those other kids I had seen. But no one would believe me. Mustering up every ounce of courage I had, I ran after Nancy as she disappeared into the darkness of the woods. I ran deep into the forest, my feet making loud crunching noises on the gravel path beneath me. Catching up to Nancy, I pleaded and begged her to come too. She couldn't snap out of it. I began pulling her away, but she continued to walk deeper into the woods. Then, to make matters worse, I spotted Eileen was about 30 to 40 feet down the path from us. I couldn't snap Nancy out of this damn trance. I'll never forget the way her eyes looked, hypnotized and dilated. It reminded me of the trance that the snake Ka from the young of the put me into. Out of pure desperation, I reared back and slapped Nancy in the face, finally snapping her out of the trance. She had no idea what the hell was going on. She just knew to run from Eileen. Eileen immediately broke into a run after us. I'd never seen a woman in her 60s run that fast. Faster and faster we ran. We were getting away until Nancy's nightgown got caught on a tree branch. I tugged and tugged at her nightgown, desperately trying to free her. Eileen got closer and closer, snickering sickly under her breath. When Eileen got within about 15 feet of us, Nancy's gown finally tore away from that damn tree branch. We darted to the exit of the woods, rushing out onto the street. I looked back over my shoulder, just in time to see Eileen turn around and disappear into the darkness. We looked around on the street, trying to find the police car that was supposed to be guarding our house. When we finally found them, they didn't even realize we were missing. The ones were smoking freaking Cubans instead of guarding our house with kidnappers. Unbelievable. I'd never felt so neglected and unprotected in my life. My parents were gone, and now the police weren't even looking after me. The idiotic officers went and got Betty, driving the three of us down to the police station. Finally, a place I'd be safe, right? Trying to explain to the cops that my sister was placed under some kind of voodoo hypnotism spell was like talking to a brick wall. Some cops are so ignorant, not open-minded at all. That's something I don't miss about them. People in authority were such douchebags. At least Betty agreed to stay the night there with us. See what I'm talking about? Nicest lady you'd ever meet. At some point, I fell asleep in the police station, and so did Betty and Nancy. What we woke up to was not at all what anyone ever wants to wake up to. Outside the station, a roar filled the air. The roar was like nothing I had ever heard. That roar sounded like it came straight from the mouth of hell. The screams of policemen filled the air outside as we listened, scared for our lives. It wasn't until the roaring died down and the screaming stopped that we dared look out the window, and let me say, it wasn't a pleasant sight. Dozens of bodies were just scattered over the parking lot. And here were we, locked in a room in the back of the station, helpless. Nancy, Betty, and I crept down the halls of the station, trying to find an exit. We passed an office just in time to get a look at one of the computer monitors, one that had CCTV footage being fed to it. What we saw on the monitor was shocking. Eileen ripping a side door of the station off its hinges. What was even more shocking was her face. Her eyes were demonic, her skin rotted and scarred like a zombie. Her teeth looked grotesque, as if she had meth mouth or something. Why the hell did she look like that? Now I know the answer. She was possessed. That sick witch had willingly conjured up a spell to get herself possessed, just to get her hands on us. The witch ripped the door off of its hinges, rushing down the hallway toward us. She had us cornered in the office. And Betty, oh God, poor Betty, I couldn't believe my eyes. Eileen just picked up Betty up by the throat, taunting her. It wasn't until Betty began to utter the Lord's Prayer that Eileen was sent into a fit of rage, pinning Betty to the wall and tearing her limb from limb, right in front of Nancy and me too. Looking back, I can't even believe a 5-year-old girl was forced to watch something so awful. I had never seen anything so terrible. Of course, now I've seen a billion times worse. Well, after Betty was slowly disemboweled, Eileen collected Nancy. Leo drove up to the police station and into the blue truck we went. No neighbor to save us this time. Before I knew it, I was back at the awful place known as the Hofmeister Hall. No furniture this time, no creepy portraits, no lights on, just an empty shell of pure evil. Eileen and Leo took us into the living room, where they began to bicker with one another. Leo wanted to have his fun with Nancy, but Eileen told him to quit. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I wanted to get up and rip his head off, if only I could have. To this day, I wish I could have beat the hell out of that sick bastard. During this, I started to wonder where David was, probably meeting the same fate my brothers and my friends did. And my parents. Oh God, please tell me they did it too. Leo eventually got impatient with Eileen, telling her that he was going to get what he wanted for a change. He turned at my little sister, precious little Nancy, grinning. "Come here, sunshine," he exclaimed. The rotten creep threw himself upon Nancy. I rushed at him, attempting to stop him. All I accomplished was getting a backhand to the face, and Eileen intervened, telling him he needed to wait. She received a punch to the jaw. Well, that was a horrible idea on his part. Did that moron forget that his wife was possessed? Eileen grabbed Leo, picking him up by the back of his neck. Nancy and I took our chance and ran away. Of course, the front door was right in the path of Eileen, so we had to run deeper into the house to find another way out. I looked back over my shoulder just in time to see Eileen begin to bite down harder at her husband's face, chewing it like a dog on a bone. Leo's cries of pain were both horrifying and reassuring to me. He deserved what he got. Nancy and I rushed through the house, desperately trying to find a way out. Why'd that house have to be so big? It was like a maze, and the fact that we could hear Eileen's demonic growling as she desperately tried to relocate us, well, that would not be. Finally, we found a window that looked out over the side of the hill. I quickly unlocked it, hearing Eileen's footsteps grow nearer and nearer. There was a screen on the window, and I reared back and threw my hands into tearing it, guided Nancy out, all the while listening to the haunting sounds of Eileen's feet hitting the wood floors. As Nancy jumped out, I yelled at her to run. I didn't have to tell her twice as I began making my way out the window. Suddenly felt the claws of Eileen grab my shoulder. I screamed out, but no one was coming to help. Eileen picked me up with the strength of an Olympic strongman, carrying me down the hallway and over to the basement. No, please, no, I thought. Not the basement. Please, not the basement. Well, basement it was, as Eileen flung open the door and carried me down into the musty cellar. She got to the bottom of the stairs, clutching me in her arms and flicked the light on. Immediately, a grisly figure was displayed by the dim light of the basement. It was a 7-foot-tall statue of the devil himself, complete with ram horns, ghoulish eyes, saber's teeth, forked tail, and hoofed feet. This was what they had been bowing down to that night. It must have been, but now it was in the basement. Eileen plopped me down in a wooden chair so that I was face to face with this horrible statue. She tied me down. This time, it really is it, I thought. Eileen then pulled out a black book with some sort of satanic symbol on the front of it. I tried begging and pleading with her, telling her I was sorry for the rumors I spread. I even offered to tell the whole town that I was lying and that the tales were made up. Why did I even bother? Eileen was having none of it. I then began to cry, asking her why she had to kill my brothers and my parents. Once I said this, Eileen developed a confused expression on her face.
I did what to them?
She asked in a deep, demonic voice. Did you kill my parents? I said.
Patrick,
Said Eileen.
Lucifer does not want to just people die. He wants to see them in hell. With him.
What? I asked in a sheepish tone.
Why, you could say your family's more enlightened than ever now,
She exclaimed. And that's when the awful truth was revealed. Out from the dark corners of the basement, behind the statues, came my parents, my brothers, their friends, and those kids I'd seen walking. David was also among them, but they walked in a zombie-like manner. When they all stepped into the light, I saw into their pitch-black, possessed eyes. Those horrible eyes were not the eyes of the people I knew. They all looked dirty and abused, and their skin looked like it had begun to decay. Irene grinned with glee at the sight.
You see, Patrick?
Mom,
Mommy and Daddy are here. Say hi to Mommy and Daddy.
I looked at my parents, desperately trying to get them to respond to me, but they were gone. It was an awful feeling.
Hail, Lucifer!
Shouted Eileen. Hail, Lucifer, repeated the hypnotized people in a monotone zombie fashion. Eileen had looked at me.
And now you join them.
Eileen opened the black book and began reciting incantations. The zombies, the people I once knew, encircled me and began reciting them. I pleaded with my brothers, David with my parents. There was no use. They were lost. Suddenly, the statue's lifelike lips began to quiver intensely. I thought I was dreaming. It's funny when something like this happens. All you think to yourself is, holy crap, is this really happening? The statue's eyelids began to quiver as well, before opening to reveal pitch black eyes. The eyes began to glow a vibrant red, just as the statue's jaw began to unhinge, and then a loud roar erupted from the statue. This roar was even worse than Eileen's demonic roar, louder and much deeper. White mist in the shape of a human skull started to rise from behind the statue, as Eileen shouted in English.
Beast is hungry!
I screamed a blood-curdling scream as the mist made a beeline for me, shooting straight into my mouth. Down my throat, I screamed, and I felt the evil spirit make its way into my belly, wriggling around my insides. My high-pitched screams slowly began to grow deeper and deeper, turning into demonic roar. This is what it felt like to become possessed. I was Eileen's now, but even worse, I was Lucifer's. The last months of my life were agonizing as I lost myself. Lost who I was as a person. I became the evil zombie slave of Eileen Watkins, working to serve the devil himself. It was like a dream. I was in control of my actions, but I wasn't at the same time. My slave labor ended when my body began to slowly decay, and that's when Eileen disposed of me, likely going on to replace me for my poor child. And that is why I am where I am now. It doesn't make sense to me at all. I don't deserve to be in this place. Sure, I lived out the last moments of my life serving God's adversary, but it wasn't my choice. Why then am I here? Some sort of mistake? Did heaven run out of space, or does everyone just go? Are my parents here too? My brothers? Perhaps that is the worst part. I'm not even granted the answers to these questions. I just live in total darkness and extreme heat. Regardless, I know it is Eileen's fault. It's all Eileen's fault. It was Eileen who stole me from heaven's true light, and that's why from hell I went. Sorry for that. It's just I used to like to rhyme when I was young. My new home forever.